All right, this is an introduction to this new little project I'm doing. This is a bucket I want to convert from its existing pin-on style to the essentially Volvo-style quick attach so that I can use it on my payloader. This is supposedly a 4-yard bucket off of a Terex payloader. I bought it at auction, so I don't know. There is a tag on it. I don't know if you can read that or not, but it's like 9 feet wide. It's a pretty good sized bucket. I wouldn't doubt that it's 4 yards. It's a pin-on style, so it wasn't very popular because not too many people run a Terex payloader anymore. They're pretty old at this point, but you can see the pins go here and here for the cylinders in the bucket. And we don't need much of that, but we are going to use some of it. So the plan is I've got this cut out for Volvo quick attach styles. And this is whatever, 1/8 inch or something, but it's a template. And I've got this plate, which is a leftover from something else. There's just enough room to get 2 of them with a little bit of excess to use for random stuff. This is 1 inch here, and these holes line up pretty nicely to where your pin would go. So I'm gonna cut this out probably off camera because it's just, you know, cutting with a torch, nothing too crazy. But the plan is when I measured it on my machine, I need roughly a 40-inch space center to center for mine. I don't know if that's what the modern Volvos use, but mine's 1986 and I'm going to build it for mine. So that lines up about right here in the center of that, which is pretty similar to what the original one was. So that's pretty cool. Again, about right here. So the plan is I'm going to cut out my 1 inch plate, and then I'm going to get it sitting in here. And I haven't decided yet if I want to have it like this, which I don't know if you can tell, but there's a pretty good gap right here where the bottom pin lines up with the bottom pin there, or if I want to leave that way up in the air and have this close. I feel like if I had the top half here close, then I can curl the bucket back further, which is kind of nice to have. It seems like you can't curl back far enough on the old equipment. And then I wouldn't have to cut off near as much here, because obviously this is too high. And so part of this would have to get cut off to clear for the pin on the new style. So my hope is that if I set it in there like so, weld it really good to this piece and the actual bucket, and then this piece and this piece, what I'll do is I'll notch, you know, however much I need to notch out of here to clear, and then the bottom halves here that can stay, and then I'll put some plate in here in between the 1 inch plate here to make this all a really strong piece, since it's already factory welds here. And then this piece here is all extra. We don't need any of that. We'll cut that off. I'm thinking about using this, which this needs to go. This is 3/4, and I might cut that into small pieces and then sit in here to make that work. I'm hoping I have enough there. If not, I got chunks of that 1 inch left over that would probably work. Or if I have to, you know, this is half here. I mean, that's pretty strong for just a little gusset. Basically, we could use some of this, enough to make it work. So that's that part. It's a pretty stout bucket. It's a little big for my machine, but it's got some really nice wear plates on the bottom that I'm gonna leave, and it's got a brand new cutting edge welded on it. When I bought it, you know, that's just how it goes. I do have one crack right here that I need to cut out, grind out, and weld up a little bit. But other than that, it's in pretty good shape. The only thing I don't know for sure, haven't committed to yet, is on the bottom here, which you can't really see because the bucket's upside down, of course. But there's this guy here, and it's just like 2 pieces of cord are put together. And that's just an overflow, so when you curl the bucket back, you know, it doesn't come back on the cylinders. I may or may not cut that off to make it a lesser capacity bucket and to increase visibility. And the reason I say that is my machine needs like a 2.5 to 3.25-ish, somewhere's in there. I'm not for sure, honestly. Size bucket. The one that's on there is for an L50, not an L70, so that's too small. And this one's gonna be too big. But the main focus here is gonna be a light materials bucket. Way bigger than what it needs material or dirt wise, but for light materials such as snow, which is kind of the focus, what I want to do. So yeah, should hopefully make a nice snow bucket, and also, you know, just like hauling trash and firewood and bits and, you know, rubble loaded up by hand kind of stuff. Should work good for that. So I'll stop talking, I guess. I'm gonna cut these out, and I'm gonna cut this off, and then I think I'm gonna cut this piece here off and this piece off on both sides. And I think I'm gonna leave this for now, just for now, until I get the new pieces welded in place, because I may end up doing is on the 1-inch plate, when I cut it out, I'll cut it straight, and then I may notch this out a little bit here on the back to match the radius here, so that I can get a little bit tighter to the bucket. That way I can get a little bit better a weld, and I may or may not bevel it. We'll see. So enough jabbing. I'll get all that done. I'll bring you back and then show you what it looks like. So. All right, welcome back to the bucket build here. I don't know where I left off. I think on the demolition, where I cut off all the extra stuff. A little update. I cut out my quick attach plates, which are sitting on top of the bucket right now. They're not welded on yet. And I cleaned everything up for the most part. I got a little bit more to do yet, but the spacing on this for the Volvo is, ironically enough, pretty similar to where the old one was. Excuse me. So it's roughly 40 inches center to center on these plates. They're not perfect the way they are. They're not straight and true. You know, I don't have a CNC machine or anything like that. So the plan is, you know, I was debating on like how do I do this? How do I get both these plates lined up perfectly, you know, straight with each other and all this stuff to where it'll fit and bolt right on and all this. And then I thought about it, and I think my plan is we're gonna just get a little redneck, but because it don't need to be pretty, it just needs to function. I'm gonna take these quick attach plates because they're not welded on. I have tested them on the payloader. They do, you know, the hole down here on the bottom, everything lines up, they bolt on. And I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take them, I'm gonna put them on the payloader, bolt them down, and then I'm gonna take this bucket outside. I'm gonna set it outside about like it is here, and then I'm gonna take the payloader, and I'm just gonna reach with the quick attachers attached, reach down with the quick attach and set it down on top, and it should be pretty close to where it is here. And then what's gonna happen is I'll take this, and you know, there's enough play in there to where it'll move around a bit. I'll take these and just kind of center them up as best I can and get them close. And then when they're close, I'll unhook the battery, tack them in place. Once they're tacked in place, in theory, I should be able to just unhook the payloader, because it has a hydraulic quick coupler, and leave them on there. And then I should be able to just weld it up, or at least weld it a little bit better. I will do some type of a bracing in here. I don't know how, or if I'll just do a flat plate on both sides, or what I'm going to do exactly, but that way it uses these side pieces here that were already part of the factory weld. So, because they've got really nice welds on them, really strong. So I think that's what I want to do. Yeah, and then hopefully we can just weld her up solid and it'll just snap right on. Because if it's happy where it wants to be with the payloader hooked up, it should be happy as long as it doesn't move, you know, with the heat. But if I put braces in there to keep that, you know, that quick attach plate there from wanting to walk, it should stay where it wants to stay. So, and then you know, I'll add something here, of course, to make this hole right here kind of bridge. Had to work with what I had. So those plates I had, you know, there wasn't a lot of wiggle room left over. I got some steel left. We can take one of them and maybe make a gusset of some kind. But so I'm gonna clean the shop up. I got stuff everywhere and all kinds of bits and bobs of metal. I'll clean all this up. We'll fire the payloader up. We'll get both of these outside and see about tacking it on. So I can't complain about that at all. It would be nice if it would tilt back a little bit further, but that's about all you're going to get out of this style without taking off more of this, which I don't really want to do. The primary function of this bucket is going to be snow and trash, debris, you know, cleaning out a building, throw it all in here, fill it up. Maybe a little bit of dirt work, but not really. Unless it works well, then, you know, we will. That's how it works, you know. So I like that. I'm gonna take the loader off and I'm gonna weld and weld and weld and weld some more and make it as strong as possible, and then I'll bring you back. All right, I'm not sure where I left off, but I've arrived here. This is a little update on the bucket. It's not done yet, but enough to show you what's going on. So what I've done is I cut these out, the plates, and I fit them down in there, set them on the loader, you know, all that good stuff. Got it lined up where it needs to be to hook up, set it on, welded down in the bottom there, and I made these plates up, and they're not welded solid, they're just tacked in there. But they're 1/2-inch plates made to fit the space so that the force of the bucket doesn't just pull on the actual bucket down here. It's going to pull on these plates here, the factory ones. Should help reduce the load and hopefully not damage the bucket, make it last longer, all that good stuff. So the way that I've got this designed is these plates, they're kind of a friction fit. So basically, like a couple of these, I know this one here for sure, I mean, I had to hammer it down in there with that 3-pounder. So the idea being it's tight before you even weld it. So, and then on the back side here, you know, there's a pretty good gap down in here. That's the way that I've got this design, where it's tilted down so that I can curl back further rather than tilt down further. It's more useful, in my opinion, for what I'm going to do with it. So I put this piece here, which is a cutoff from the plate that I cut these out of. It's 1-inch steel. It's not welded solid yet, but she's pretty beefy there, and I'll weld it here on the back side, and then that'll be a nice brace on the back side here, because most of the force is going to be up there where the where you're pushing on it this way, but there will be some back here, not a ton, but some. So there's that side. Over here, it's basically the same thing. I got 3 larger 1/2-inch plates. They're all going to fit in here. Got 3 smaller ones. They're going to fit in here. And then I did have an extra piece on this side, so I'm going to throw it in there. But basically a short stubby chunk that I had left over. So I'm going to do one down in there, weld her up solid. And then I've got this piece, which is just another drop off. And I put a little notch in it just to make it fit better, but something about like that. So I'll have 2 on this side just because it's what I got. But yeah, should work nicely. You know, weld her up good down there on top and then on the back side. And then obviously when I get down in there, you know, I'm going to weld this piece solid to the actual bucket just to give every little bit of strength I can. So once that's done, I think she'll be done. So thanks to YouTube magic here, I'm gonna weld this side completely solid, and then I'm gonna cut my strap off here. This strap was for keeping it so it doesn't, you know, a brace, I guess you want to call it. I'll move it over there, do the same thing over there, and she'll be done. And then I'll show you the finished result. And then hopefully we can throw it on the loader. I got a little pile of snow out back here. Maybe we can scoop something up. It's kind of frozen, but we can try. So I'll bring you back when I get it done. Okay, I think I'm done welding. Keep in mind, and I'm going to steal this line from Clayman, but I just own a welder. I'm not one. So I'm not that great, but it should suffice. Anyways, that side's done welded out. This side here is a little rougher, but it should work. Same principle, bunch of 1/2-inch plates stuffed down in there, welded up. This one I had enough scraps to do 2 pieces of 1 inch, and welded the heck out of her, you know. Excuse me. So nothing seems to have moved. It looks good to me. Let's next step is we're going to pull it out of here, get it hooked up to the payloader, make sure it still hooks up. There's a possibility on these bottom pieces, this corner here might have to come out, take the torch and just chop it. We'll see. There's a deal where the payloader, you know, sits in here, and it might contact a little bit on the corners where it comes and wraps around. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so I'll get this out of here. We'll get it hooked up. We'll get it tested. If it is, it's good to go. So let's see what happens. Surprisingly, everything just bolted right up, locked right in, no issues. So I was worried about these being a problem, but it doesn't look like it's gonna be. So a little bit of a gap right here, you know, that might wear in. We'll see. If it does, we can always weld her up. Yeah, locked right in, no problem. So my plan is do a little test run. Obviously this is a oversized bucket. It's not going to do dirt work very well, but way over there looks like a pile of dirt is actually a pile of snow. It's pretty frozen, but let's see what happens. Yeah, I can't complain about that one bit. I like that. You could definitely tell it's too big for this. And this snow is like hard packed frozen, and the ground underneath is soft. It's March right now, everything's melting, so it would, I think fresh snow would work awesome. For what I'm going to use this bucket for, honestly, I think it might in the future, after I get a couple test runs with it, be prudent to cut this off, this little bit here. The way the geometry is on that, I still can't quite curl back as far as I would like. So not really useful having that, and it's a bunch of extra weight. If I cut the weight down a little bit, that would help a lot with this this bucket. So for sure, yeah. So I'm gonna do a test run over this next winter, and we'll see what happens. But if we do any modifications, we'll lop that off and see what happens. But I think as far as like grabbing fresh snow and loading it on a truck, I think this would work great. So anyways, that's the end of this whole video. Thanks for watching.